Hi, everybody. Tony Winston here. I'm going to work on some open voicings today. I'm going to use a song that I haven't worked on with you all before called Spring is Here by Rogers and Hart. First, I'm going to play it with some very simple open voicings, and then I'm going to go through it again and try to kind of explain what I was thinking. Okay, spring is here. Got to lay some ground rules here first. And when you're doing open voicings, especially when you're just, learning to do this, always put the root on the bottom. Unless the chord symbol specifically says to put a different bass note down there, put the root on the bottom. The melody note goes on the top. You shouldn't play anything above the melody note in the chord. So make the melody note on top. And our first chord here is A flat diminished. Now, an A flat diminished chord looks like this. And that's, this first chord's kind of complicated, but you've got a diminished chord with what they call a whole tone extension. That's where you can take any note of a diminished chord, raise it by a whole step. So that's what the melody is here. So I need some of these notes of the diminished chord in my chord here. So I'm going to put the B and the D in there and the A flat on the bottom. And I could maybe add the F there too, because that's also part of the chord. So now you see I've really got all four notes of the diminished chord right there. And in general here on a slow ballad like this, you want to play a chord on beat 1 and also another chord on beat 3. So in the beginning, you've got a note here on beat 1, but then beat 3, the melody doesn't come back in again until beat 4. So just play the chord again, or play a slightly different chord if you like. Maybe voice it a little bit differently or something. Play the second chord there on the beat 3, then add the melody note, and here's A flat 6. Okay, so I've got the bass on the bottom, the melody note on top, and you have to have a third and a seventh. I say a seventh, but if it's a sixth chord, then you need to have a third and a sixth. But usually in most chords, you need to have the third and the seventh present. So here, unless it's a sixth chord, then it will be the sixth, not the seventh. So I've got A flat, that's the root, and I've got and you need the root, of course. And then I've got the melody note is the sixth. So all I really need is the third. So I could play that. But let's add the fifth here, and I can double up the melody here. Play A flat 6 this way. Then, I need another chord for beat 3. I'll just play the bottom half again, or maybe I could, add a tone or something. Okay, now here we go back to our same chord again. All right. Now C minor 7 flat 5, sometimes called a half diminished chord. Bass note, melody note is the third. Got to add the seventh. And, a little exception to the rule. Usually you don't need fifths in a chord, but if it says flat 5, that's going to add something special to the chord, so you need to put that in. And I think that's what I did. So let me play F7. And the melody note is up here on top, but it doesn't come till beat 4, so I'll prepare my chord like this and then just play the bottom half and then put the melody note in there. And here I'll just do that. Now that's B flat, and I've got the root, the third, I've added the seventh, and the chord you want to leave fifths out on more often is a dominant chord. But on major and minor chords, it's okay to put the 5 in. It's okay to put the 5 in on a dominant chord too, unless you start adding lots of tensions like ninths, 11ths, and 13ths. Then the fifth kind of gets in the way. All right, back to C minor here. Okay, so I've got the root and the third. I put the 5 and the 7 in. Here it gets a little tricky. You've got A flat major 7th, then F minor 7th. All right, here I've got the root and the 7th again, and the third. The melody note is the 9, so I've got to have the 3rd and the 7th in the middle here someplace. And up here I played, an F minor with melody note there was the 11th. Here the melody note is the 5th. So root, 5th. Got to have the 3rd and the 7th. There it is. And I'll double the 5th. And then I love this chord, C7 altered. So it's the root, 7th, 3rd. Flat 13 is the melody note. And it says altered, so I could add a sharp 9 like this, or a flat 9, or both, or even the sharp 11, as long as the tensions are altered. Like it can't be a regular 9 or a regular 11. You wouldn't want to put those into the chord. But a flat 9 is good. Got to have the 3rd in there too. All right, and then here we go, F minor. Now here's a nice chord, F minor major 7th, and I think I played it like this, but that's not a very pretty voicing, so maybe just an octave here. And then we've got a 9th and an 11th, and here we go to B flat 7th. I'm going to use the root, the flat 7 again, the 3rd, because it's a nice big chord there. And when you're doing open voicings, you don't want to leave like too much space. Like that would be okay. You've got root, 7th, 3rd, but you need to fill in this area a little bit. Like that. And then E flat. 7th. Root is on top, so I need the 3rd, the 7th. And, I'm doing simple chords here. I'm not going to add any 9ths, 11ths, or 13s, so I might as well put the 5 in, or maybe I could put it here. I don't know. I'll put it here. Then we run through the first part again. B this time, kind of a surprise chord. All right, you put the 5 down there if you want. And look how easy it is to get to E7 there. Then just do the same thing here. And here, I just kind of used I call these a formula. If you have a minor 7 chord with the 3rd on top, this is a good structure to use. 1, flat 7, flat 3, flat 7, flat 3. And all these formulas, I've talked about these before, and I will put a link to them down there. And, if you study this kind of stuff through the cycle like that, you'll find that you can get through these songs a lot easier. So anyway, here we go. C minor, and then I'll use F minor 7th, same structure, but I'll leave the melody note off until there. Then I'll do almost the same thing here. Now, one thing you can do, let's look at the last line of this song. We've got a chord on the first beat, and then there's F minor 7th with no melody note, at least not on beat 3. So I can play any kind of F minor 7 chord I want. I could put a 9th on the top, or an 11th on the top, or any chord tone on the top, and really just make it any kind of F minor 7th chord, any kind of voicing I want. And you know, there are ways to make it flow better, but we're not there yet. So I'm just going to put a 9th on top, though it was kind of close to the melody and it almost interfered there. So maybe I'll put an 11th on top and see what happens. Well, it was not any better, that's for sure. But I'll come down here and put a 9 on the E flat. See? So I play C minor. I have to play it pretty much this way, though I could add some other notes in there too. We'll get to that later. But F minor 7th, how about this one? And E flat. I put a sharp 9 there just to try it out. Didn't work all that well. Let me do something different. Chord sounds good, and I added a 13 there also. Now, I'll do a lot more about open voicings, but I thought I'd just throw that out at you today, and I'll see you again soon with some more open voicing technology. Thanks always for tuning in, and I do appreciate it when you hit that subscribe button, and I really appreciate it when you leave a comment. Thanks.